Fear is the worst thing you can give into because it breeds inaction, right? And there's a saying that the most plentiful place in the world is the cemetery because it's where most good ideas go to die. And it's because no one gives it the oxygen it deserves or gives it a shot. Fear, I'm telling you right now, is all about weighing the risk versus the regret. What do you fear more, trying and failing and being embarrassed, or never trying and getting older and regretting the fact that you never tried? For me, risk is very funny. It changes as I get older. Like when I first started my business, 2Space, that hit the 10 million valuation, turning restaurants into co-working spaces, I was in my mid-20s and I could risk almost anything because I had nothing to lose, right, back then. And I had no experience in co-working or office space, but I did it anyway. Fast forward today, because of that chance, even though that startup after 6 years failed, I now lead co-working and flex space for a Fortune 500 company globally with 100,000 employees. So that kind of worked out, didn't it? But as I get older, if I was going to start something on the side or something new, which I actually have that I'll speak to shortly, it wouldn't be in something brand new that I had no experience in. It'd be in a niche or an industry that I've built a network in, I know really well, so I can really stay focused and not be a dog chasing cars like I was when I was really young, and build a business that way. And there's a lot of study that shows that the entrepreneurs in their mid to late 40s, even older, are the most successful ones statistically, and I think that's the reason. So let's go talk about fear. I got to do this sometimes to focus the camera. Fear when it comes to young people is interesting because when I think about fear as my younger self, I wasn't scared of a lot because I didn't know any better, right? I didn't even have any idea how hard it was going to be to start or run a business, which is really funny because in hindsight, I would never do it again, even though I could do it better. And yes, your superpower is your appetite for risk is extremely high because you may have nothing to lose. But the one shitty thing about being young and an aspiring founder is not many people take you seriously. You almost have to earn your stripes because any new idea or business, the first year or two could be seen as the honeymoon phase, the hype phase, where anyone can have an idea, but it's really the sticking around, the execution, the grit that kind of gets you noticed because they're like, oh, you're still here, you're still doing it. So my advice is to really put in the time and the work, and then you'll get that respect. One thing when it comes to young people in fear that I think is really useful to anyone watching that may not even be thinking of starting a business but is applying for jobs that they think they are underqualified for. What I can promise you is that if you're not excited and scared at the same time at a new prospect, it's probably not worth your time or effort because the fear represents an opportunity for you to grow and develop because you're always growing and you're always learning as an individual. So if you're not scared, it's probably not worth your time, and your future self will thank you for taking that leap and just trying. Now, when it comes to older people, and I'd categorize myself in that bracket now, getting close to 40, as I spoke to earlier, you know, the older entrepreneurs statistically from that Harvard Business Review research report and some more modern articles done by Forbes and everything are pointing towards if you're in your mid to late 40s, you're going to be more successful. And I think the main reason they do that is because they attribute it to, you know, you've got a larger network, you've established your brand, you've kind of been around the block, so you're not a numbnut to a degree, frankly. But I think a big part of it is as you get older, you care less about what people think. You're not on this epic quest to make everyone like you. So you'll do what you got to do and you won't waste time with anything else. So that's personally why I think as the older you get, the higher chance of success you have trying to do anything, you know, out there. And earlier in the video, I was talking about and alluding to something that I've started on the side. And it's probably not what you think, because maybe 10 or 15 years ago, when someone says that they're going to start a business, right? You'd think, oh, they're going to launch a product or a service, something physical and tangible that's solving a problem. But I think today we live in a very attention-driven economy, very digitally driven, right? So content creation is a very valid side hustle. Whether it's newsletters, whether it's writing a book, whether it's, you know, a YouTube channel, I think lean into it because it's quite rare to have a side hustle such as this where you just get to do what you love, like find a niche you're very interested in. You know, for me, it's around helping young aspiring founders and startups, or I'm also doing content around the future of office because that's what I do on a daily basis. Because if you love what you do, you're going to stick it out, right? If I look in hindsight, the 6 years I spent starting and growing Two Space, imagine if I dedicated the next six years on top of a full-time job, because I could do it on the side. So I've got that cash flow coming in into growing this community and this content-driven channel to try and help people out there. I'd like to think that by year 6, because it'll still keep accruing if I stay true to it, I'll have built a pretty cool community of people that value the things that I share. And it's not from a void or an empty mouthpiece. It'll come from experiences that I've done. And I'd like to think over the next 6 years, I'll be doing new things and new ventures that I can share with you about or help people along the way. So don't discount quirky side things like that, like content creation. That market is booming. Goldman Sachs shared that they think it's set to hit $500 billion over the next 3 years. So that's no small industry. It's definitely getting there. So just to sign this off, good luck. You got this. And remember, fear is a reaction, but courage is a decision.